GM was the Tesla Motors before Tesla even existed. They were at the forefront of the electric vehicle revolution. They made the blueprint for EV success with this vehicle, the GM EV1. But if you ask someone today if they ever heard of the EV1, they'll most likely say no, as GM failed to build on something that could have potentially made them the face of the EV revolution. If they were successful, there probably would have never been a Tesla Motors. So this begs the question, why did Tesla survive in the electric car revolution while GM died? A lot of people think that electric vehicles are new, but they are not. They have been around since 1832, when the first crude electric vehicle was developed by Robert Anderson. It would then take 38 years from the concept of the first electric vehicle before it was perfected for practical use in the 1870s. At the time, gas and steam powered automobiles ruled the day, but people began to develop a liking for the electric cars as they were quiet, easy to drive, and didn't emit smelly pollutants compared to gas and steam powered. By the 1900s, electric vehicles would peak in popularity and accounted for around a third of all vehicles on the road in the US, but by 1908, electric vehicles' popularity would be halted by this man and the gas-powered cars he produced. This is Henry Ford, and this is the Model T, a gas-powered car which was mass-produced and was affordable and available for many. Coupled with cheap oil and improvements in road infrastructure, electric vehicles went on a decline, and by 1935 they were completely extinct. For the next 30 years, it seemed that everyone had forgotten about the electric car, until the gas crisis in the 1970s, which had people talking about the electric car once again. In 1973, during the Arab oil embargo, there was growing interest in lowering the US dependence on foreign oil, which eventually led Congress to pass the Electric Hybrid Vehicle Research, Development and Demonstration Act of 1976, authorizing the Energy Department to support research and development in electric and hybrid vehicles. At this time, automakers began exploring options for alternative powered vehicles, and this is around the same time that General Motors started to develop a prototype for an electric vehicle that they displayed at the Environmental Protection Agency's first symposium on low pollution power systems development in 1973. The car that GM developed was called the General Motors Prototype Urban Electric Car, a very small, weird-looking vehicle. By 1996, GM announced that they were working on an electric vehicle called the EV1, and by the end of the year, the vehicle was made available to the public in the states of Arizona and California on a lease agreement, as GM refused to sell the cars as they considered the development of the electric vehicle technology to be ongoing. The EV1 was like no other at the time. GM did not just modify an existing vehicle, unlike other automakers that modified some of their most popular vehicle models into electric. GM instead designed and developed the EV1 from the ground up. The EV1 had a range of 80 miles and the ability to accelerate from 0 to 50 miles per hour in just 7 seconds. The EV1 would amass a cult following in a very short period of time, being popular with environmentalists and celebrities such as Tom Hanks and Mel Gibson. But that following was short-lived, as GM would commit self-sabotage as they feared that electric vehicles would undermine its conventional business. It is claimed that while GM was promoting the EV1, they were simultaneously lobbying to weaken the California law which required car makers to produce zero-emissions vehicles in order to continue selling conventional automobiles in the state. By 2001, the auto industry was successful in weakening the regulations, and GM, under the control of CEO Wick Wagner at the time, decided to terminate the EV1, claiming that there was not enough demand for the cars. Because the cars were only available on lease, GM was able to recall the vehicles and destroyed them. Today, only a few EV1s survive, and the only fully intact one is in the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C. Though GM failed to build on the EV1, it was viewed as successful from an engineering standpoint, and so these guys decided that they were going to continue where GM left off. Meet Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning, two entrepreneurs from Silicon Valley. They saw the favorable reaction of the public towards the EV1, and so they launched their own company, Tesla Motors, in 2003 with the goal of building an entirely new electric sports car. Now, you might think that the first Tesla was this car, the Tesla Roadster, but it was not. This was the first Tesla vehicle, the T0, the car that inspired the Tesla Roadster production car. The T0 was built by a company called AC Propulsion. It was launched in January 1997 with only 3 prototypes. There were plans to take the vehicle to commercial production, but those ambitions were dropped in mid-2003 due to high production costs. The T0, however, caught the attention of Martin Eberhard, who would use the T0 and components of AC Propulsion to create the first Tesla proof-of-concept vehicle. Using the T0 as a test mule, they converted it from lead-acid AGM batteries to lithium-ion cells, which substantially increased the range, reduced weight, and boosted its 0 to 60 performance. With the achievements of the test mule, Eberhard and his team knew they were onto something big and started to license AC Propulsion's technology to help in the development of the Roadster. By the end of 2003, Tesla was out of cash and needed funding to achieve its ambitions, and so the founders went out in search of venture capital funding in February 2004, and it was at this point they connected with Tesla's current CEO, Elon Musk, who contributed $6.5 million of the initial Series A funding, and soon became the chairman of the board of directors and would appoint Eberhard as CEO. By July 2004, Tesla Motors began assembling its first working prototype using the body of a Lotus Elise fitted with an AC Propulsion drivetrain and prototype battery pack dubbed the Mule 1. Tesla, however, was dissatisfied with AC Propulsion's transmission and would start to design and build their own drivetrain and technology, and would soon no longer need license for any proprietary technology from AC Propulsion. By June 2005, Tesla Motors began working on the Mule 2, which was shaping into the Tesla Roadster we all know today. The Mule 2 was again based on the Lotus Elise, but this time it had a custom fiberglass body and a modified chassis. Through 2006 and early 2007, the Tesla Roadster was entering its final testing phase with several validation prototypes for road and collision testing, and by the fourth quarter of 2007, Tesla started the delivery of the first customer's car. The very first Tesla Roadster was delivered to no other than chairman and product architect of Tesla, Elon Musk. Yes, this cherry red sports car, which he blasts off to space in 2018 aboard Falcon Heavy. The Tesla Roadster was very successful, and Tesla would end up selling about 2,450 Roadsters in over 30 countries at $100,000 for an example. This proved that there was indeed a market and a demand for electric vehicles, contrary to GM's claims about there not being enough demand for electric vehicles. Even Rick Wagner, the CEO of GM at the time of the EV1, said that killing the EV1 might have been the worst decision he ever made, which had GM later playing catch-up in the electric vehicle race. As for the rest of the story, it is still ongoing. Today, Tesla is the largest electric vehicle seller in the world, delivering close to 1 million vehicles in 2022 and generating revenues of over $50 billion. Now, do you think that GM deserved to be left behind in the electric vehicle race? And how much of a role do you think they played in the creation of Tesla? Leave your comments below and give this video a like and subscribe if you found this interesting. Thanks for watching and see you next time.